Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to answer some questions that some clients of mine have about HIIT training using a heart rate monitor.
You are burning fat.
Showing you some real-time data on what happens with the heart rate zones and what are the best exercises for HIIT. Is there a difference between using weights and no weights? Use moves that target certain body parts or always full body exercises, and many more. So let's get into this.
You are burning fat.
If you've never used a heart rate monitor like this, I definitely recommend using it just to understand your heart rate zones and kind of see where you're at, because HIIT training is all about high intensity and pushing your heart rate into really uncomfortable zones and then recovering fully. So that's one of the most important aspects of HIIT training, is you do want to give yourself long enough to recover for it to actually be considered HIIT. Because if you don't recover long enough, then your next set is not going to get into that high intensity zone. Really high peaks and really low valleys, rather than steady state cardio, which is just maintaining a medium zone throughout the whole thing. Now, you definitely don't need to use a heart rate monitor to do HIIT training. Most of the time I don't. I only pull this out honestly to make YouTube videos or sharing like heart rate information with clients or testing workouts. But when I'm doing HIIT myself, I just rely on the perceived rate of exertion. And you can be really honest with yourself and know when you're giving a level 10 effort versus like a level 5 or 6. And you can go by feel. You don't necessarily need to know your heart rate. But if you're curious about it and seeing these numbers helps encourage and motivate you to go harder and push even beyond what you perceive to be a high intensity, then you should get a heart rate monitor. Some of the reasons why high intensity interval training is so effective for fat loss is, one, because it does stimulate your growth hormone. You're going to develop more lean muscle this way. Also, two, because it spares your lean muscle tissue, meaning it's not going to tap into your muscle when you're running out of energy like you would in a steady state or a long endurance workout. You can just look at the bodies of sprinters versus the bodies of marathon runners to see evidence of this. You can tell that sprinters are able to maintain more muscle than endurance athletes. There are so many different ways that you can do a HIIT workout, and there are endless options of what exercises and what interval formats or times to use. But for it to be truly high intensity intervals, it needs to be a short duration, no longer than about 40 seconds. To me, 40 seconds is pretty much the maximum. Sometimes I've programmed 60 seconds work periods, but honestly, it's really hard to maintain your highest intensity level for a full minute. A full minute is forever when you're doing HIIT. Usually around 20 seconds is actually the best window for me to actually give my all. When you know it's going to be short, you can push yourself harder, and I feel like there is a massive mindset difference there. When I know I have to last for 30 or 40 seconds, I'm going to pace myself more than if I know it's only 10 or 20 seconds, then I'm going to give 100% or even 110% of my effort. There's also a true physical difference too. I mean, it's not just being weak in the mind, it's like your body really does run out of steam when you're giving your 100% effort. About 10 to 20 seconds is as long as you actually can last. And when it comes to the rest period duration, longer is actually better. If you concentrate on breathing slower, do you find it helps you recover faster? Like you purposely slow your heart? Sometimes up to 4 or 5 minutes between sets. So this is where a heart rate monitor can really come in handy, because you don't know if your heart rate is actually back down or not. You may feel okay to go again, but if you saw your heart rate numbers, you might actually still be elevated. But as you get into better shape and you have more practice with this type of workout, your rest periods will actually shorten to the point where you actually are recovering quickly, and that's how you know you're in really good shape. Your recovery windows become shorter. When it comes to using weights versus not using weights, which is better for HIIT workouts, it depends. Honestly, weighted exercises can really get your heart rate up a lot more than non-weighted exercises, because adding that resistance does increase the challenge and it makes your muscles work harder. So that's a good thing. But when weights are involved, you usually have to go a little bit slower and control your speed more in order to not injure yourself. So for that reason, I pick body weight only exercises the majority of the time for HIIT workouts. But even still, just because it's a body weight only exercise doesn't mean you should do it in the sloppiest, fastest way possible. You still do want to control your form and make sure that your muscles are actually flexing. You're not just like flailing your body parts around. The key for the high intensity is that your muscles are working at their maximum. Can you do ab exercises or like muscle group specific moves, or do they always have to be full body or plyometric type moves? So my answers here are full body, jumping, explosive type exercises are usually going to be best for this style of training because again, we want maximum muscle engagement, and then we want your heart rate to be able to reach its peak as fast as possible. So full body, engaging all your muscles at the same time, and jumping is the #1 way to do that. But for people who need lower impact, this is where weights are probably going to come into play, because for an exercise to stay grounded with no jumping, it needs to be harder than just doing like body weight squats. So by holding a heavy weight, your heart rate's going to get a lot higher than it would without that added resistance. It's incredible to see how high your heart rate does get when you're doing heavy weighted sets of exercises. And I feel like this is such an underrated form of cardio. People don't even realize they're doing cardio when they're doing heavy strength training. But if you watch the heart rate monitor, it is cardio. Your heart is getting honestly so much exercise when you're challenging your muscles, and that's part of the reason why muscle training, strength training, gets people so lean. Even if they don't do much cardio, this type of training alone, it is working your heart without you even purposely working your heart. If you're wondering what you should feel like during HIIT training, like what does going all out actually feel like? Like how do I know if I'm at a 10 out of 10 on that perceived rate of exertion scale? You know, because you are sucking wind is like what I like to call it, and you're unable to carry on a conversation.
You are improving fitness.
And that is the amount of windedness that you actually do want to push yourself to. Because remember, it's only temporary. You're only going to be feeling like that for a matter of seconds. And then the following few minutes, you're going to be recovering and coming back down and ready to do it again. And as you get more fit, that recovery window gets shorter and shorter. But you don't want to start your next set until you are able to speak again, your heart rate is back down, and you're feeling actually rested. When you're just starting out, it's better to stick with exercises that you feel really comfortable and confident doing. Maybe comfortable is not the right word, but exercises that you know that you can do and you feel like you've got this to a point where you actually can push yourself to that level 10 effort. Since our legs are our biggest muscle group of our body, generally exercises that use leg muscles quite a bit, things like squats and lunges and jumps, are going to get your heart rate up the fastest, way faster than something like bicep curls or tricep kickbacks, because our arms just don't quite have enough muscle to have that effect on our overall heart rate and body. So if you're looking for the absolute best exercise and one that is honestly the most effective for HIIT style training, it's going to be 100-meter sprints on the track. You'd want to do it on the track because that's going to be the best grip for your feet and the best visual for you to be able to see the finish line and dart towards it as fast as you can. And doing that kind of effort, working as fast as you can, pumping your muscles as hard as they can possibly go, is the ideal scenario for true HIIT training. Dart to the finish line and then slow recovery walking back, and take a couple of minutes just to fully calm your heart rate down before going again. Now, there are definitely other places and other ways to do sprints like this. I've done them a lot on the street, outdoors, just in my neighborhood, or on a grassy field, or up a hill, or bleacher sprints, stairs sprints. There's so many different ways you can do this, but on a track, is definitely my #1 pick if I had to narrow it down to just like the best HIIT exercise possible. And I know from working with so many clients who followed my Formula for Women program, which includes sprints like this in phase 2, that it's just not always possible to get to a track, and we need alternatives, and sometimes bad weather alternatives, so you can do something indoors. So I do have another video, I'll link it below, sharing the best sprint alternatives. That's it for this video. Hope this answered all of your questions about HIIT training and encourage you to do more of it, because it really does become more enjoyable the better you get at it. And I just always want you to remember that we're working out to get in good shape, not just to work out. If you want more guidance on how to do HIIT training or just what to do or more variation of different ideas, I have so many HIIT workouts in my training programs. Formula for Women and Formula X both contain a lot of this style training because it is so effective at leaning and slimming your body. So I highly recommend both of those 2 programs if you're looking for how to include more HIIT training and you want actual guidance where I'm walking you through it, talking you through it, and showing you exactly step by step what to do. Getting good results and becoming more athletic and creating an athletic physique is a natural side effect of becoming a better athlete. So the more you focus on performance goals and actually sprinting faster, working harder, getting stronger in your workouts, the more your results will show that. So instead of working out for results, work out for performance, and then the results are just a natural side effect. It's so cool to see. Works every time. So keep focusing on getting stronger, better, faster, more athletic. You are gonna see exactly the kind of fat loss and muscle tone that you're hoping for. I'll see you at the next one. Bye.